This is a 2001 PT Cruiser. It's here for some brake grinding noise in the right rear. 112,000 miles on it. Taking both wheels off of it, they had 19mm studs on it. Looks like the rotor's just rotten and warped. There's a burnt place of the pad left on the rotor. That's where it's warped at, so it got hot somewhere. The front rotors look pretty rough, although the pads don't seem that shot. So it's definitely going to get some rotors on it. And probably some pads. We'll go ahead and raise the front up too. The rotors are rotten on the front. I want to check the pads too. Of course, it's going to need pads. The inside of the rotor is kind of, I think, feels like it's rounded off on the edges. That's not a good sign. Taking the front wheels off of it. The rotor's pretty rough. This front tire kept going low. They're new tires, but the rims must be gold up. It's got a rim leak in several places on it. On the back side. Put some soapy water on it and it foams up wherever it leaks. These rotor changes on the back are pretty routine. Just take a 10mm bolt loose on the top and bottom of this caliper. And take the screwdriver in here and pry it open a little bit so it'll come off this rotor. And if it's like this one, still has this original retainer for the rotor on it, you can either cut that off or try to straighten them fingers out and save it if you want. It's kind of irrelevant when the wheel's on it. It's got enough slack in it now. Stick a 10mm as a short socket on it. Pry the top out, lift it off. And support your caliper with a wire or cord or something to keep it from falling and hanging off of the hose. It'll be bad for it. Now, if emergency brakes are still alive in it, that's the X factor. Sounds like the wheel bearing's alright. These pads aren't even wore out, but the rotor's warped. On both sides right there. Let's say you can either buy another one of these or lift those fingers up to release the tension off of it. The advantage to it is when you take the wheel off, that the drum won't flop around and get dirt behind the flange and cause it to appear to be warped, cause it won't be true with the hub anymore. You can spray penetrating oil on this if you want. I usually test them first. Unless I know they're gold up, and then I'll spray them an hour or something before I start on it. Well, the emergency brakes are still alive. Let's check them for any peeling up or anything, but it looks good in there. I'll take a wire brush to this face, get most of the residue off and anything sticking up. The adjuster on this emergency brake may need backed off for the new rotor. We'll see. I'm gonna wire brush this off in between the studs. That looks nice. Take some non-chlorinated brake cleaner and spray the rust protection off of these rotor faces and the emergency brake shoe face inside. You can kind of see it. Looks like a wet leaf pattern or something on a face of it. I washed the hub face off with some brake cleaner, and the new rotor just dropped right in there. So now the brakes, they're not that old, so I'm gonna just rough sand their surface and put them back on there. Still plenty of meat left on them. If you're at liberty to buy new pads, then do so. I'm just resurfacing these with some 80 grit. Just like new. These are already cambered on the ends, so they don't skip hop on the rotor by having a straight edge on it. There's really enough room for some more pad there. That'll work. Wire brush off the surfaces your brake pads ride on. As you can see here. And the outer part. And make sure that these pins move freely in and out of the caliper. Rotate them a couple of times if you're not taking them apart and lubing them. Spin the metal in a circle a few times. Make sure they're not sticky or hanging up. And put a touch of brake grease in these places where the pads are going to lay in. Just a little spot. Don't get any grease on your rotor or you'll degrade the lining of your pads. While I'm in here, I'll take this clip and put it back on the rotor for if something falls behind it. Just take a hammer and hit it. It flattens those fingers back down so it'll bite on again. Stick it on anywhere. Use a socket or something, push it on. Screwdriver, whatever. Grease it. Put your inner pad back in the caliper piston. And put your outer pad, lock it back into the outer caliper. It's got the hooks on it, and the inner pad has hook centered. That's the inner pad to grip the inside of the caliper piston. You can put just some noise suppression goo on there if you want. Now, push the pins back in the housing. Slip the caliper on. Get them notches on the bottom of the pads in the bottom section first. The pins will want to hold it up. Once you get to the bottom end, the pads up a little bit. Stick your bolts in. They tighten to 192 inch-pounds. The rotor went right back on there, so no e-brake adjustment was required as long as the shoes aren't actually dragging the drum. In business. Put the wheel back on it, torque the lug nuts to 100 foot-pounds. Just make sure your brake ears are on their respectable slots.